The political panel all-stars up shortly, Whānau. But first, this week's one-on-one in 10 with leader of the Labour Party, Chris Hipkins. Kia ora, comrade. Welcome to the show, and thank you for being available to the Fourth Estate. Your democracy is grateful.
Kia ora, Brett Combo Bomber. Great to talk to you as always.
Chippy, let's get into it. The property speculators are screaming. The real estate pimps are crying. David Seymour fears a socialist takeover of all assets. Winston is grumpy. And Chris Luxon managed to shoot himself in both feet while justifying why he should get $600,000 tax-free from flipping houses. If you want to know why you should be for Labour's targeted capital gains, look at who's screaming against it. Why shouldn't we give everyone 3 free GP visits annually with more money into public health for a tax that 9 out of 10 Kiwis won't be expected to pay?
Absolutely. Very, very fair question. That is the thing that, the National Party are desperately trying to peddle out there at the moment. So much so that they've actually edited video footage of me to suggest that I was saying things that I didn't say, because they've given up trying to actually mount a principled argument against it, because they can't. 3 free doctor's visits will help to keep people healthy.
Right.
They'll be available to everybody. It will be good for our health system, good for our wider health and well-being. And we can pay for that through a targeted, simple capital gains tax on people who are buying and selling rental properties or commercial properties. And it will mean that we're encouraging investment in productive industries that might create jobs and actually help to create opportunities for New Zealanders.
Sure. Comrades on the left have been critical, and they have claimed this doesn't go far enough. But your job as Labour is to pull voters away from National, not cannibalise Green vote. That middle voter wants stability and some promise of a reduction in cost of living. And this targeted capital gains tax, alongside your future fund, appeals to that middle voter. That's why the attack against it is so hysterical. The right know this policy is a real raid on their 2023 votes. What other policy areas are you considering?
Well, we're focused on how we can grow an economy, a New Zealand economy, that actually works for all New Zealanders, rather than one that sees the benefits of economic growth captured by a small minority. So we're talking about a future that's made in New Zealand, by New Zealand, for New Zealanders, not a future in which we sell off what little we have left to rich foreign investors, who then take the profits, the innovation, the ideas offshore to benefit some other country. We want to see New Zealand investing in and backing New Zealanders, which is why we have the Future Fund. It's why we're focused on how we can move investment in New Zealand away from the speculative housing market towards productive businesses that create jobs and opportunities for New Zealanders.
We just celebrated Labour Day and the 40-hour working week. What is the point of an egalitarian country if the government of the day has no interest in pursuing policy that helps build that egalitarianism?
It's absolutely right that we celebrate Labour Day, and it's absolutely right that we continue to look at how we can make sure that all New Zealanders get to have a bit of work-life balance. For a lot of New Zealanders, they're working harder and harder. They're working some of the longest hours in the OECD, and yet we're earning some of the lowest incomes.
Yeah.
Things have to change. There's a reason why 200 Kiwis a day are giving up and leaving the country. It's because they're not getting the kind of opportunities here that they deserve.
Talking of egalitarianism, there are not that many silver bullets when it comes to society's challenges, but sweet Jesus, public education is one of them. This insane situation at Kelston Boys High, where a hostile takeover by a third-party charter school operator has shocked many Kiwis who had no idea that David Seymour's legislation allowed for this. On top of everything else now, do parents at state schools need to fear a hostile charter school takeover?
Well, this highlights the absolute absurdity of the charter school model, where you can have a hostile takeover of schools. You've got a government that sees schools as simply business units to be acquired or merged or disposed of, forgetting about the kids, the teachers, the parents. What's happening at Kelston Boys is utterly unacceptable. The idea that you could have a school being under siege from a group who have no real connection with the school, I think is just something that that the government really need to front up and explain, and they need to put a stop to it.
The Bradbury Group has received today a copy of the application to take over Kelston Boys High, and they redacted parts of it poorly, and if you copy and paste the redacted parts, it allows you to see that part of their application is claiming Kelston Boys High is a violent school. It exposes names of police officers, specific incidents, and details of police operations that appear to have been included without formal approval. The text describes police setting up checkpoints outside the school, escorting students at Polyfest, and bringing a paddy wagon to control post-game violence. How can accusations like that be made without context to justify taking over a public school without the community responding?
I think the fact that this charter school application is being considered by the government, despite the school being firmly opposed to it, despite the parent community being firmly opposed to it, despite real questions about the suitability of the people who are trying to to take over Kelston Boys and make it into a charter school,
right,
shows that the charter school model is just totally, fundamentally flawed. Labor will repeal the charter school model, will deal with any schools that have been established in the meantime on a case-by-case basis. But this government needs to put a stop to this madness.
When the charter school legislation passed, David Seymour was asked on Q&A how many New Zealand schools did he intend to make charter schools. He said in England it was 80% and he wanted a similar level here. If Kelston Boys is taken over, it's just the beginning of a full frontal assault on public education, isn't it?
This government doesn't believe in public education. David Seymour certainly doesn't believe in public education. There's a real risk here that they haven't thought through the consequences of what they're doing. Kelston Boys, for example, has a school enrolment zone. For some kids, it is their only option.
Right.
So if it effectively is privatised as a charter school, what's going to happen to those kids who don't want to go to a privatised charter school? They have no other choice.
The other issue we are discussing tonight is the current state of relationship between Māori and the government. This government argues it is not anti-treaty or anti-Māori, yet almost weekly there is a new attack on Māori and the treaty. Does this government just get too much political capital using Māori aspiration as a political punching bag? What would Labor do differently with that relationship?
This has been such an ugly government when it comes to the relationship between Māori and non-Māori in New Zealand. We've seen the National Party play the race card in opposition before, but it's the first time, probably since Muldoon, that they have tried to do it in government, and it's ugly, and it's not going to be good for New Zealand's future. People like Jim Bolger, Christopher Finlayson, Hekia Parata, National Party luminaries who worked really hard to improve the relationship between national governments and Māori would be so ashamed of what this National Party are doing at the moment.
Yeah. Finally, Chippy, our suicide rates came out last week and they are still so staggeringly high. It's harder and harder to gain access to mental health services. Oranga Tamariki released a report showing that 500 kids in care were abused, and tomorrow we're expecting unemployment numbers to go up. Many Kiwis are looking to the political opposition for big solutions. What would a Labor-led government mean for those wanting better?
We've got to focus in areas like mental health. We've got to focus on some of the root causes of mental health problems. We have huge economic disparities in New Zealand that put people under huge pressure. That is a cause of mental health distress for a lot of people. There are real issues of marginalisation within our communities that we've got to tackle, issues around homelessness that we've got to tackle, issues around drug and alcohol abuse that we've got to tackle. Methamphetamine use under this government has gone through the roof. And so for all their tough on crime rhetoric, the gangs have never made more money out of selling drugs than they are at the moment. So we've got to really tackle those issues if we want to turn this around.
Thank you, comrade. We'll talk to you again soon. Have a great time.
Good as gold. Good to talk to you, Bomber.
Cheers, Chippy.